to become a good storyteller, you have to tell more stories. And I mean just in everything that you're doing. So if you're talking to your friends or your family about a hike that you did last week, put it in the context of a story and actually apply all the rules of storytelling to be able to make it engaging and more interesting. So let me give you a quick example from a hike. Here's what you shouldn't do. So last week I did this awesome hike with my buddy. We went up to the top of this mountain and it had like the best view ever. That's not really a story. It's not that engaging. There's not a whole lot of context. There's nothing really going on when it comes to what you're talking about. You're just giving some facts around something cool that happened, and you're not really diving into the story element. So let's rephrase that and put it in the context of a story. So last week I had a super long shoot up in LA. It was 5 days. I was in a studio from morning until like 5 o'clock at night. And my buddy Jesse was also on the shoot with me. Every night we'd get done shooting and we'd see this mountain off in the distance. Like in LA, there's actually some mountains surrounding the city. And in the location that we were at, we could see the peaks off in the distance. And after being in a studio for long days, both of us just wanted to get outside and just be in nature. So on lunch during one of the shoot days, we were looking at all trails and just trying to find some good hikes in the area to go explore. And we found a trail that was like 10 minutes away from the studio. And this is perfect because, you know, the time of year that we were shooting, we only had like an hour of daylight left by the time we were going to be wrapped. So we had a very limited amount of time that we could get out and go hiking before the sun set. Now, this hike wasn't a super easy hike. It was about an 1,800 foot elevation gain over the course of a couple miles. So really, we were just going straight up this mountain. Both of us weren't really prepared. We just started the trail and started going up. And we were pushing ourselves to try and get to the summit because the sun was setting off in the distance. We didn't really have that much time. But just as the sun was dipping towards the horizon, we made it to the summit. And on the top of that mountain was one of the best views that we've seen of LA. This mountain was positioned in the perfect place to be able to see downtown off in the distance and all the way down the valley the other direction. It was an incredible view and we got to see it right at sunset with all the lights turning on in the city. So the next day when we were on set, we jumped on all trails and we found a different hike, and every day that I was in LA, we hiked a different trail to catch sunset from this amazing viewpoint. Now there was definitely a lot more that went into the second story example here, but it's more of an engaging story, and that's what you want to create. And it's easy to craft once you just know what beats you need to hit. So number one is just giving some history and setup. So when you're going to tell a story, you want to give some context so the viewer is with you in this moment. You want to put them in the scene. You want them to feel like they know what's going on, because if you don't give any context, you don't give any history or setup to the story that you're going to tell, then someone's not going to be as engaged because they don't really know what's going on. So the big key here is you want to set the scene. And this could be as simple as just giving a quick context of what's going on, or it could be something longer where somebody needs a history and they need to know a bunch of different bits of information to be able to follow along on the journey. Now, the second thing you need to establish is the challenge. So what's your goal and what are you up against to be able to reach that goal? That's an easy way to think about it. So with my little hiking example, we wanted to get to the summit of this mountain, but we were up against time because the sun was going to set within an hour. So time is a great way to set a challenge. If you only have so much time to do something, that is a challenge. You only have this amount of time to finish something. And you'll see this time and time again in YouTube videos. Challenges are great when it's a 24-hour challenge or a 48-hour challenge. There's so much story built into that structure because you have to try and finish what you're doing by the end of the time period, and your audience is going to want to know, well, are you going to be able to finish it in that time period? It piques the curiosity of somebody who's watching your video, and they want to see if you actually follow through or make it to your goal. Now, number 3 is complications. So what are different beats that happen along your journey that push you back away from your goal? So this is just the little story beats throughout the video that push you further away or bring you closer. So as you're telling a story, you want to have things pop up that will pull you away from actually achieving what you're going out there to get. So as the journey of your story goes through your video, you want to show challenges. You want to show things that are pushing you away from your goal. And that's different complications. Now, these can be things that you could set up when you're crafting a story or outlining it, but they're also things that naturally will happen. And that's the beauty of vlogging or creating YouTube videos or adventure films, whatever it is that you create, is that when you actually go through the process, Very rarely does everything happen as planned. And when you're telling a story, you'll start noticing that these different complications will happen, and you'll spend a little bit of time actually filming them so that they can become elements within your story. Number 4, when it comes to structure, is the payoff. Did you achieve your goal? Did you not? Or is it kind of just somewhere in the middle? You want to have a resolution to your story, and you want to know what that element is because you set that up at the beginning. So stories are very structured in that you set everything up in the beginning, you go through this journey, and then you either achieve your goal or you don't. And then the 5th part of the structure is, how did this change you? Now, when you're watching a film or you're reading a book, there's usually a big, profound change that happens with the main character. When you're creating YouTube videos or you're vlogging, there's not gonna be these massive changes. Once in a while, maybe, but you still wanna look for some sort of change. After you went on this journey and you reached your goal or you didn't reach your goal, how did it make you feel? Because your audience is on this journey with you, and they want to see how this journey affected you at the end of it, or your main character. Now next, I highly suggest you check out this video right here. It goes through storytelling structure, but also shooting, editing, and how it all comes together in an edit to tell a story while you're vlogging. All right, guys, I'll see you over there.